talent, as we talk about in class, is the ability to discover the hidden connection between two things that already exist and put them together to create a third new thing. Okay? Everybody can do this. This is how people think. The brain thinks metaphorically. And so when you go up to an elevator to come up to talk here today, right? There's buttons there. How do you know which button to push? You know because you have done it again and again and again, and your brain scans all of your experience and tells you it's like every time you've ever, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're constantly comparing what's happening in the now to everything that's ever happened to you, and by making that comparison, you know what to do. And so every human being knows what to do in most cases in life because it's like all the experiences they've had that are similar to that. That's metaphorical thinking. Everybody's constantly comparing what's happening now to everything like this that they've ever had, and and instantaneously they know what to do. So all the human brain works by associations, by metaphors. It's like something else. Everybody can do this. And just like IQ, some people have a 75 IQ, some people have 100 IQ, some have 125, 150, 175. Some people have very little metaphorical talent. Some people have good, some people have great, some people have stellar. I just read in the New York Times Review of Books, a book that just came out where he talks about how Ted Williams hit fungos until his hands bled. And, Mozart played the piano until his hands bled, all these hand bleeding stories and whatnot. And I'm sure they're absolutely true. But Ted Williams and me taking a swing at a baseball, Ted Williams had talent, I didn't. And then he made himself the sweetest swing that baseball has ever seen, I think. Mm-hmm. So, anyway. Yeah, I would take issue with the notion that talent doesn't matter.
Got it. So let's circle. You've been incredibly gracious with your time, so I want to kind of circle back around. Let's bring it up to what's happening right now, because I'm really fascinated with what you're doing with Storylog. Yeah. So you have this tremendous personal brand. You're sharing amazing information in these live lectures around the world. You've got a book which is, I checked Amazon before I came here, and it's out, was it published first 13, 14 years ago? And it's still selling phenomenally.
It's been in the upper 0.1% for over 12 years.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
And then, I guess it was the end of 2009, you launched Storylog, and you went into a little bit of what that's about. But I wonder if you might just broaden your sort of description and tell me a little bit more about what the experience actually is and what you're really looking to accomplish with it.
Well, what happened was I wanted to do advanced studies in the arts of story, and at first I was going to bring out a journal. It was going to be called the Writers Quarterly, and we trademarked that, and I wrote the first issue on dialogue, and then we just paused and thought, yet another paper publication. And so we decided to put our energies into an internet venture, and we created Storylog. And it's in response to demand that people want more and more of a serious study of subjects that I do not have time to reach in the lectures. And so it's going to have it's online now. It has four components. One is these advanced studies in dialogue, on character, on getting in and out of stories with prologues, epilogues, and so forth. And it's long. It's going to be a lesson every week. So there's 52 lessons a year on all new material.
And these are video.
And they're me to camera.
Right.
Giving these studies. Then I'm interviewing people like yourself, and we're talking shop. And so I'm talking to writers, of course, but also producers and directors and actors and writers of all stripe, novelists, playwrights. Tomorrow I'm interviewing some people who do musical theater. And we're going to talk shop because too many times interviews are biographical and meant to flatter and so forth, but I have none of that. We'll talk, how do you do what you do?
Right.
And so there's interviews, and there's one of those every week, so there's 52 interviews a year. Then every day, we are still collecting questions from writers all over the world on camera. And so the writers ask questions, and every day I give an answer to a whole different question on different component of writing. And so there's Q&A, a new one every day. Then we have writers' rooms, chat rooms. And the writers get to create the genre for the room. And so there's the sci-fi room, and the romance writers room, and the literary novelist room. And so we have these rooms for writers where they go in, talk to each other, comment on the lessons that I'm giving or the interviews that I'm doing and so forth. And they can upload pages to each other and critique each other's work. And then periodically, I go into these rooms and talk online, live with the people who are in the room, and work with them as best I can to listen to their problems and give them some direction.
And it's not just screenwriters in there, because I've been inside, I've poked around, I spent some time in there, and it's really, and the people you're interviewing, it's not just from the world of film. It's it's from books, it's from plays, like you said. It's got value across the board. It's really anybody who's and it moves beyond the fundamentals of structuring story. You really go into some different areas, and like what you said, it sounds like it's really demand driven.
Yes, the book and the lecture that I give is called Story. The subtitle is for the book is screenwriting. And the only reason, and the examples that I use in the book are primarily from film. And the reason for that is that this is the common currency. This is what everybody sees. If I started naming titles of novels and using them as examples, okay, there would be 2% of the readership who had ever read the novel or been to the play. And so first I approached the telling or teaching of story through film, because everybody knows these things.
Right.
But it's always been, for story is universal in all of the different the media. Now we're making that explicit. It's just it's called story log, and so the interviews are with playwrights and writers of novels as well as and film. And one thing that always gets me excited is television. Because, in my opinion, the best writing in America is on television. Not necessarily novelists, not in the theater, certainly not on the big screen, but television series. We are in a golden age. The Sopranos is a masterpiece.
Yeah, tremendous.
6 Feet Under, Sex and the City, all those great series, and the new ones that are on, like Damages and In Treatment and The Wire, and on it goes. I mean, really, on it goes. And the best writers in America are flocking to television, creating TV series, and staffing the series with great talent. And so television is a very exciting medium for story, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which you have length.
Right.
Sopranos was 9 years. All right. I mean, there's no novel ever written that big, and so you can take characters and evolve them and move them in and out of situations countless times, all new, different combinations of personalities and conflict, and you can. There's one of the great ambitions of writing, I think, is to create a character or set of characters in a cast, and then, as I would refer to it, empty them out. Put them through situations so that every aspect of their humanity is eventually dramatized, and you know these people in every possible way, in absolute depth and detail, until there's nothing left in that person that the reader or the audience has not experienced.
Right.
To empty out characters. That takes a lot of time. And of course, it's also a coefficient of the character that you create. And so, if your character is like the protagonist of Avatar, right, who's a nice young man and whatever, it's not hard to empty him out over 2.5 hours,
right,
because there isn't a lot there to empty, right? If your character's Hamlet, it takes you 4 hours or more. And so television has the capacity to set up really complex characters and then take the time to really empty them out. And so television is a very exciting form.
So, I mean, which is fascinating, and also because increasingly more of my time is spent in the book world, which is going through all sorts of major transitions and upheavals. I'm curious on your take on the state of great storytelling in the book world. I mean, and what's fascinating is we have had a very small number of sort of epic book series that tell the stories and develop kids or characters over time. Harry Potter. It's a 7-year or 8-year period in this person's life, but each book was something like 700 or 800 pages just to really essentially empty them out the way you described. Yes. I'm curious just what your feelings are on the state of storytelling in the book world these days.
I never worry about this. If the book as a medium for story is transformed into Spindle or Kindle, whatever it's called, Kindle, what difference does it make? Graphic novels can be a wonderful form. I never worry about the various media of story. Storytelling is a human thing that it's how we understand our life. You put your life together from one day to the next, from the past, and imagining the future in the form of a story. The key to understanding how the mind thinks is to understand narrative form. I mean, I didn't invent, I didn't create that notion. I mean, that's been understood for decades. Is that all of the psychologists and neuropsychologists, everybody trying to figure out how the mind works, understands the story is the key, because the first step in creating a story is to eliminate 99.9% of the world and life. 99.9% of it is irrelevant. All the details. I mean, look, right now, my peripheral vision is including 180 degrees, right? I got lights, I got the city out there, I got curtains, I got paintings on the wall, I got you and whatever. Right. I can't be conscious of this. And so I have to focus on your eyes and your voice, right? In order to be, right? But my mind absorbs it all the time. And so the first thing you have to do is exclude the vast majority of everything that ever happened to you and all of the sensory stimulus you ever experienced in order to focus on those things that are important.
Right.
Now you're telling a story.
That makes sense.
You're putting things together that are the highlights of the day or your life in order to make sense out of life. And so the mind naturally sifts through all the minutia to find those turning points, as we talk in the lecture, where a human being takes an action expecting the world to react in a certain positive way, and instead the world reacts in a way they didn't see coming. That's what the mind focuses on, because those are the moments when survival's at stake. You either adjust to the way the world just reacted to you and get ahead, or you can't adjust to it and you're going to be damaged somehow. And so the mind naturally focuses on those turning points in life and organizes those turning points into a narrative to make sense out of life. And so it's what we do as human beings. We tell stories. And so if one medium of story perishes, another medium steps in